Shalom to Dr. Einat Wilf, former member of Knesset and co-author of The War of Return.
Shalom.
So we're all involved in the debate regarding the hostages, especially in wake of the murder of 6 hostages. Now you're claiming that we must wake up and understand that there's no deal at all.
During my years after the negotiations of the 90s, I began to truly listen to the Palestinians and what they're saying. And I realized that as Israel was negotiating with the Palestinians, as America was pressuring Israel to offer even more, as Israel was offering even more, the Palestinians were never there. They were never at a point in which they were really willing to come to terms with a Jewish state. And since I was already aware of that dynamic, when I was following the supposed negotiations on the hostages, I will preface by saying that I think it's an abomination that Hamas is even being negotiated with, that you could kidnap people from their beds and be considered a legitimate negotiating partner. But as I was listening to what Hamas is saying, and there's one vow I made to myself in the last 20 years, I will listen to the Palestinians without wishful thinking. And I was listening to their declarations, to what their people are saying. And it's all out there. You don't need special intelligence, special briefings. And I realized I'm not hearing that there's a deal. And it was breaking my heart because my country is being ripped apart. Our people are fighting each other. Take the deal, don't take the deal. And I'm like, is there a deal? I'm not hearing that there's a deal. And to the extent that there is a deal, what's shocking is that Hamas is essentially demanding the same thing it demanded on October 8th. Basically, to go back to October 6th with 0 consequences. I mean, that's why they took and kidnapped people from their beds as an insurance policy, so that they can show to the world that you can invade Israel, butcher its citizens, and then suffer no consequences. And if anyone wants to ask, as far as Hamas is concerned, they suffered no consequences. They don't care about the people killed. They don't care about the destruction. Whatever murderers we killed, they will replace them. As long as they're considered a legitimate negotiating partner and in a position to demand remaining in control in Gaza, they've paid nothing.
How could the situation be changed? What could and should have been done differently?
So we should have done it on the first day, but I think we should still do it, especially now that we're learning more about how they held the 6 hostages who were executed. We should have closed our borders, made it clear that this is an enemy, that Gaza is an enemy, and that we are under no obligation to supply them, not with fuel, not with anything. They have a border with Egypt. We are under no obligation. In the past, people said, oh, but if we don't give things in, they will starve the hostages. We know that they starved the hostages anyway. So we are under no obligation to them. And the other thing that we know from the things they're saying, that they really, really want, is to return the people of Gaza to the north. So we should do the opposite. We should constantly push everyone to the south, clear the north, kilometer by kilometer, with a simple message. We're not negotiating. You do not get to invade a country, butcher, kidnapped, and then be considered a legitimate negotiating partner. It's as if the US would have declared in December 41 that it's at war with the kamikazes. We're not. We're at war, and it has to end when the enemy is defeated and vanquished. And one of the ways we do that is constantly push the population to the south, clear the areas, and make it clear that we are only stopping when they return all the hostages. We're not negotiating, and constantly push to the south. That's at the minimum. There might be other ideas, but what matters is to actually do something. The failure of this campaign after 11 months, that Hamas feels that it is in the same position to demand what it demanded in October 8th, is an abomination.
You know, some may ask, how could it be that this criticism of not being strong enough and tough enough is regarding what many defined as a 100% right-wing nationalist government?
Exactly. I don't think ever in Israel's history we had a government that talks such a high and mighty game and either does nothing, that's the best case, or does the opposite. But at the end of the day, you just have to look at the outcome. After 11 months of a failed diplomatic campaign and a whole management of this campaign, Hamas is in exactly the same position and feels strong enough and confident enough to demand exactly the same thing they demanded on October 8th. That's the definition of a failed campaign.
So what can be done now?
As I said, first and foremost, make it clear. Say, we're sorry. We made a mistake. These are not people with whom we should negotiate. Qatar and Egypt are playing a double game. They've just been using the negotiating as a tactic to purchase time and to protect their interests in Hamas. So we're done negotiating. We know how they treated the hostages that they executed. So we are closing our borders. We're done supplying them because they're clearly not giving food to the hostages. This is an implacable enemy, and we are not supplying them, and we are beginning to clear the territory of Gaza from the north, kilometer by kilometer, only stopping once the hostages are returned. There's not a lot of things that we need to insist on, but this is one of them. And if the world says don't, then we say, by all means, we gave 11 months to your failed negotiations. You have a better idea? Let us know. Until you have a better idea, that's what we're doing. And we're being very simple. There's actually a means to end this. Release the hostages, and it stops.
Dr. Einat Wilf, thank you very much.
Thank you.